How are you all? Fine. This is our first lecture of ethics. I am Vikrant Bhosle. I teach essay ethics and some part of CSAT here. My area of interest is public administration, sociology, and now philosophy. All right. The purpose of today's lecture is to introduce the subject, paper, its nature, how to prepare, what is the syllabus, what are the sources to be referred, what are the things to be kept in mind, and what is the significance of this subject in the overall scheme of examination. All these things will be discussed, and I will try to address your queries and doubts as far as possible. Okay. Now, how many of you have already started studying ethics? Not really. Okay. How many of you had philosophy as your optional? None. All right. So first thing about this subject is not formally taught in schools and colleges, right? Like history, geography, polity, economics. At least some background is there. At least till 10th standard, right? At least you can remember something, correlate something. But suddenly this subject, when we are forced to make a choice of preparation as a part of civil services, we feel bewildered. Why? Because jargon is more in nature of philosophical, right? But another question come to mind of aspirant is that being an adult, day in, day out, we are confronted with the notion of morality, right? Right and wrong. Is it not? Then why we need to study ethics at all? As an adult, we are capable to decide what is right and wrong. Correct? ये सवाल तो आता है ना मन में. We are not like blank slate कि हमसे starting from scratch सब पढ़ाया जाए. ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. Being grown up, जो भी हमारा age है, उम्र है, उस period में हमने कुछ तो सीखा है as a part of our upbringing. We have made choices, right? We have resolved the conflicts. We have overcome some dilemmas, right? Then why we need to study ethics at all? ऐसा क्यों है? Okay, so to probe these questions, we need to take some of the situations. Then you'll understand why we need to study ethics. ठीक है? So देखो, चलते हैं. Some food for thought. First, a situation is there. You have got a person, okay, and who you strongly believe is a terrorist. So you suspect. You have a strong suspicion. And you also believe that this person has got information about a bomb that is kept in your city. And you are an investigating officer. You need to retrieve that information in time to locate that bomb. If that doesn't happen, the bomb will go off and millions of people would die. That much powerful bomb is kept. Now the question in front of you, would you torture that person to get that information? How many of you would say yes? You have to make a choice, yes or no. How many of you would say yes, in order to save millions of lives, I won't bother about torturing a person to get that information? How many of you say? Raise your hand if at all you think. All right. Now, what is the simple reasoning behind this choice? Losing millions of lives is not preferable to torturing one person, because you are not going to kill that person. You are going to torture him so that he would reveal the information. Right? Simple calculation है. ये common sensical है. But when you torture that person doesn't speak anything. कुछ भी बोलता नहीं है. And that only strengthens your suspicion. अगर कोई innocent होता, then what that person would have said? कि मैंने कोई गलती नहीं की है. I don't have any information that you are asking. I'm innocent. Please leave me. But his silence only strengthens your suspicion that he has something to hide. But now you realize that even though you torture him to death, he won't speak anything. That much trained he is. Then you think of another way of making him to confess information. So you realize he has got a daughter, 3 years old. And if you torture that kid, he would speak like a parrot. Now, those who said yes now, how many of you would torture that kid to reveal the information? Yes, any response? Now see, same calculations are there. Millions lives versus torture of one person. But something had changed, is it not? Now, if I ask you what has been changed, still you can explain that. But studying ethics provides you framework through which look at the situation and explain the reason. Your answer will be qualitatively different than commonsensical answer if you study theories in ethics, because they provide you lenses through which you can look at the situation and make an ethical inquiry. Is that clear? So I agree, as a grown-up person, we have fair sense of right and wrong, right? But when you are trying to be part of a job which has implications and impact on millions of lives, you need to elevate your awareness of right and wrong a bit higher level. You cannot rely on your commonsensical experiences. Take another situation. Is suicide unethical? How many of you think suicide is unethical? Not correct, not right. How many of you think? Whatever. If you think, yes, it is unethical, not correct, you raise your hand. Okay, what is the reason behind this choice of declaring suicide as unethical? Why do you think, what are your reasons of thinking that suicide is unethical? Why? क्यों लगता है आपको? कुछ तो reason होगा ना? Any reason? Online people, you can also respond. Okay, you have already raised your hands. Ankit. Ankit.
Taking life of anyone or yourself is not allowed, illegal.
Why do you think that is not allowed? Even taking your own life. There must be some reason. Simply declaring it is wrong is not enough. Tejas. Tejas Patil. What is your answer? All right, here, offline. Any reason?
Sheer amount of interconnectedness and dependency with the relatives and society become the reason for which suicide should be unethical.
Okay. So are you saying that because you have some social relations, whatever that may be, it is going to impact the others? Okay. So it will have bad impact on the others. In that sense, are you saying your reason?
It can have bad impact and lasting impact on the dependent.
Okay.
Who are dependent on that very reason, it is unethical.
What if a person is an orphan?
If a person is an orphan, still the person can have some care who might be emotionally dependent on that.
Okay. Hypothetically assume nobody is there. Then okay. See, right to life has also an assumption that you have every autonomy to do whatever you want to with your life as long as it doesn't affect the others. So I am hypothetically assuming nobody else is going to get affected, only that person is going to get affected. Then what will be your argument?
That person is going to be affected with societal tendencies. It can be that the person will be an asset to the society.
Acha, futuristic. But what if that person is going to be a criminal then? Okay. So be optimistic. That is what your message is. All right, accepted. But assume that you are in that person's shoes, and whatever reasoning you give doesn't matter to that person. He or she says, no, this is the only solution I see which is going to solve all my problems. Huh.
The person will be seen as an example by somebody for some same situation, or rather, he or she, the person who attempting to, may not know what the situation of the first person who already committed the suicide.
Right.
Can get easy for absolutely right. Nothing, it affected almost nothing. So what if I do the same?
Right. Then what does it make unethical then? How can you say that a suicide is unethical? All right, how many of you have studied sociology? So you know Emil Durkheim, right? Theory of suicide. 4 types of suicides are there. So one is altruistic suicide. Right? Altruistic means done for the others. Right? Soldiers often do it for nation. Or in olden days, in polar region, old people used to sacrifice themselves by exposing to the cold so that whatever scarce food is there will be saved for the rest of the people. So would you term such suicide as unethical? It's very challenging, is it not? Hai? Second kind of suicide is fatalistic suicide. So fatalistic means due to excessive rules and regulations, people used to commit suicide, especially slaves, who even have not had basic freedom. Freedom of speech, freedom of expression. Utna bhi nahi tha. Then anomic suicide. Anomy means lawlessness. So when suddenly rules and regulations in society or in life disappear, people experience vacuum. Okay. And that vacuum creates a sort of meaninglessness in life. And that's why they commit suicide. So a few years back in Bangalore, it happened. An IT couple, IT software professional couple, committed suicide by writing notes that we had enjoyed everything which we wanted to. Now we feel there is nothing in our life. We are happily ending the life. So there is a sort of anomy situation, lawlessness. You don't have anything to abide by, anything to go by, right? And finally, egoistic suicide, which is often seen in society. Now see, when you can say all these things, when you're already aware of all these frameworks. Are you getting my point? So in your personal life, making a decision about what is right and wrong is fairly easy. But when you are making it for society, you need to heighten your awareness at a bit higher level. You have to study some of the frameworks, some of the principles, which will provide you some lenses through which you can make ethical inquiry. ठीक है, so जो भी हमने पहला situation देखा था, torturing a suspected terrorist versus millions of lives, changes in second situation. Now to justify that change in decision, there is another principle which you need to study in ethics. So the entire point of discussion is this: if you study ethics, whatever answers you are going to write will be better than commonsensical answers. I'm not saying that commonsensical choices are bad choices or wrong choices, but making a choice alone is not enough in ethics. You need to justify your choices. And that's where the relevance of ethics comes as a subject. Is that clear? All right. Now next is few more questions. What is ethics? So I'll give you functional definition of ethics. It is a systematic study of human actions from the perspective of their rightfulness and wrongfulness. Clear? आप क्या कर रहे हो उसमें? You can write also if you want. A systematic ethics is systematic study of human actions from the perspective of their rightfulness or wrongfulness. It is a systematic study of human actions from the perspective of their rightfulness or wrongfulness. Okay? This is functional definition. After some time, we will explore this concept in depth. Now, second question which should crop up in your mind is why the study of ethics has become important. So do you know when this paper was introduced in the scheme of examination? 2013. Why not before? Any idea who recommended this paper first? Any name of the committee that you might be aware as a part of your general awareness? Okay, this is where I would like to highlight few things about civil services. It is mistakenly believed that this is one of the examinations where there is a huge competition. This is a myth. Okay? Apparently, number appear huge, like 9 lakh people apply for exam, 6 lakh people sit for prelims, then 12 to 13,000 people write main examination, and twice the number of posts are called for interview. So almost 50% fail even in interview stage. All this is by number true. But if you look at the people who are really doing what is needed for exam, they are few in numbers. Okay, rest of the people believe that they are doing what is needed, but they are not. In this exam, if at all you are going to choose civil services as your career option, you need to be proactive. You need to take initiative and dig something more about civil services than what is told in the classroom or than what is told on social media platform or YouTube or video, whatever. So if at all you are going to choose this as your career, be curious about its history. ये civil services का job आया कहाँ से? किसने शुरुआत की? What was its nature? Is it same today? What are the different institutions that work as a part of civil services? What are their powers? What are their responsibilities? What changes it has undergone since its inception in India? ब्रिटिशों के पहले क्या था? उनके पहले क्या था? Curious about. Are you getting my point? Similarly about this question. ये question आपको crop up होना चाहिए for each and every subject. ये subject आया कहाँ से? Who made it mandatory for the sake of exam? ठीक है, सो बताओ कॉमन सेंसिकल रीजन क्या हो सकता है? क्यों इथिक्स की जरूरत है आज पढ़ने की एज अ पार्ट ऑफ स्कीम ऑफ एग्जामिनेशन? पहले क्यों नहीं थी? कॉमन सेंसिकल, गेस करो. आई नो दैट यू डोंट नो एग्जैक्ट आंसर, यू कैन गेस इट आउट. बताओ, गेस कर सकते हो ना? हार्मलेस गेस, नो इश्यू. क्या लगता है आपको?
Much huge responsibility. The responsibility is very high, and one action can impact life of the people based on their rank.
Okay.
Also, competition is not from also other departments.
Right.
So, normally, kind of one action or one dispute might be
Right.
a general understanding of the system, so that the service in the service of a civil servant can be carried out in a well manner.
But was it not earlier there? Has it happened recently? Okay.
Small mistake or a small mistake here and there in your conscience can affect the life of the.
All right, good guess. But let me tell you, okay, what he said is partially right, or you can say up to some percent. But whatever changes that happen in your administration and selection process, those changes are made so that the system would be more responsive to the changed situation of society and economy. So something has changed in our society and economy recently in last few decades. And those changes have warranted changes in administrative system. And that's why this system is trying to select people who have values which are commensurate with the changed reality. This need was not there earlier. Are you getting my point? Now I have given you just a hint. You need to dig it out on your own. Now, who did recommend the paper? What was the reasoning? And I'll tell you, that report is still there on website, on Google. Okay, you can download that and read that thoroughly and try to understand the rationale behind making changes in your main exam pattern. Okay, all right. Now let's start with today's objective. What we are going to discuss today is one, how to prepare this paper. So इसमें तीन चीजों का डिस्कशन होगा. एक है know your syllabus. सिलेबस का नेचर एंड ओवरव्यू लेना है हमें. सेकंड, क्वेश्चन पेपर जो आपको दिया जाता है मेन एग्जाम में, उसका नेचर क्या है, उसके एलिमेंट्स क्या है. थर्ड, योर रिसोर्सेस. So books, reference books from which you should be studying the subject. So these three together constitute three elements of preparation for any subject: syllabus, paper, and resources. You have to triangulate these three to make sense of the subject. Then, how to excel in GS4? Because mere preparation is not enough. Being competitive exam, you need to get ahead of others. So to score better marks, you need to understand first the objectives of the questions. Okay, purpose. What exactly they are demanding from you? What kind of demands are made on you? And once you know the demand, second part is how to fulfill the demand. So realizing those expectations in your answers. So these 5 things mainly will be discussed in today's session. All right. So let's start with syllabus. Take a look at syllabus and tell me what is your impression of the syllabus. Take a look at syllabus and tell me what is your impression of the syllabus. Dekho and tell me what is your first impression of the syllabus? As soon as you look at the table, what is your first impression? That GS4 is not merely about ethics. Is that clear? Even though we say this is ethics paper, the subject is ethics, but it is not merely about ethics. There are other disciplines as well, like social psychology, public administration. So in that sense, this paper is interdisciplinary in nature, right? And each discipline has its own approach to solve the problem. So your first task is, as soon as you look at the question, you should be able to locate it in your syllabus. ये कौन से disciplines हैं? Sometimes a question can demand use of all the 3 approaches of 3 disciplines. So let's discuss the nature of each discipline. So पहली discipline है ethics, जिसको हम बोलते हैं moral philosophy. हमने अभी definition लिखी है. So what is the ethics? Systematic study of human actions from the perspective of rightfulness and wrongfulness. So इसमें आपको पहले क्या बताया जाता है? What is right and wrong? किसको right बोले, किसको wrong बोले? Decide those standards. ये 2 चीजों का स्टडी होता है. Now, as far as your syllabus is concerned, first area which syllabus focuses is ethics in human life. So पहला टॉपिक देखो, ethics and human interface. So human life may. So see, now I'm not saying that everywhere we need to be concerned about ethics, right? For example, while eating ice cream, do you need to study whether it is morally right or wrong to eat ice cream? Not necessarily. But there are certain areas where when you are making choices, you should be concerned about the moral aspect of the decision. So for example, use of plastics. Earlier it was not that much concern, but now today, even government has considered banning single-use plastic. You might have read that in newspaper. समझ में आ रहा है? So there are certain areas where you should be particularly concerned about morality. So this subject tell you what are those areas where morality is important and how you should look at it, how you should detect it, how you should decide about it. So that is first. Second is contribution of moral thinkers from India as well as world. अब इसमें एक चीज आपको नोट करनी है, nowhere they have mentioned any name of the any thinker. कौन से भी थिंकर का कौन सा भी नाम मेंशन नहीं किया है. So it has been left to your discretion. कौन से थिंकर का स्टडी करना है, कौन सा नहीं करना है. So common sensically, what are those thinkers that you are more likely to study? Yes. कौन से थिंकर का स्टडी करोगे? How will you decide? What are those thinkers to be studied and what are those to be avoided? Yes. You will choose only those thinkers whose theories have widespread impact on policy making, whether in India or abroad. समझ में आ रहा है? So whether those are Western thinkers or Indian thinkers doesn't matter. The only criteria is they should have widespread impact and even valid even today. So some of the thinkers would be from ancient Greek era, like Socrates, Plato, Aristotle. Some from medieval and some from modern. Okay, but the only criteria is they should have widespread impact. Third, philosophical basis of governance and probity. What does it mean? When you say there should be governance and it should be clean, okay, it should be devoted to people, what kind of philosophical basis do you have to say this? That will be probed in the third topic. And last will be contribution sources of ethics. So in this, you will be studying different sources of ethics and their limitations as ethics. Okay, so this is first. So ये जो पहला discipline है ethics, इसका primary concern क्या है? To tell you what is right and wrong, and also to tell you what is the process to decide what is right and wrong. Is that clear? Okay. Now middle column. Second, social psychology. The main concern of social psychology is to study human behavior when a person is a part of group. तो इसमें क्या किया जाता है? They study human behavior, but when a person is part of group. So whichever group is that, whether it is small group or big group. So small group कौन से होते हैं? Friends के होते हैं, family के होते हैं. Bigger group कौन से होते हैं? Institutionals और nation based group. Right? तो इसका जब कोई हिस्सा बन जाता है, then वो कैसे behave करता है? इसका systematic study करना, that is a part of social psychology. Now, why is that important? Because tomorrow, as an officer, you are not only going to deal with individuals, you are also going to deal with groups. So take a scenario. In our society, we often find groups are influencing the decisions. Okay, so I'll give you one example. Have you traveled in Mumbai local? So there are separate coaches reserved for women. Right? Now what happens if a man enters by mistake? He will remember that mistake for life. Right? And if it is a rush hour, then he would be more likely thrown out of the coach. But imagine he enters into the same coach and there is only one woman. Would she behave like that? No. At the most, she would tell him angrily, this is not your coach, you go to other coach, general coach. समझ में आ रहा है? Or imagine a scenario in hostels. What happens in hostels? Yes, when lights are off suddenly, what people do in hostels? Yes, screaming, right? Running here and there, making utmost noise possible. ऐसा होता है ना? The liberty is taken, right? But imagine only one person is in the hostel and same thing happens. Would he behave in the same manner? Absolutely not. He would pray to the Almighty. सब घोस्ट की स्टोरीज उसको याद आ जाएगी, right? Or you look at, people when they go to picnic or trek during rainy season, especially boys group. कैसे बिहेव करते हैं? In the wildest possible manner. Next version of Tarzan. है ना? पूरा लिबर्टी ले लेते हैं, सब कुछ करते हैं वो. Every possible adventure they attempt. जो लाइफ में नहीं किया वो सब करने की कोशिश करते हैं. उसमें कुछ मर भी जाते हैं, एक्सीडेंट होता है ना. You hear every year वो न्यूज रहती है. बट जब वो अलोन रहते तो you observe them. They try to behave as a Mr. Coolest in the world. मैं सबसे कूल कैसा हूं वो दिखाने की कोशिश करते हैं. मर्यादा पुरुषोत्तम राम. सो ये कैसे होता है, क्यों होता है? बिकॉज ऑफ ग्रुप. समझ में आ रहा है? ये जब सब डायनामिक है, या फिर यू लुक एट योर ग्रुप शॉपिंग. ग्रुप में जब आप जाते हो शॉपिंग के लिए, यू ट्राई टू बी एज स्मार्ट एज पॉसिबल. बार्गेनिंग में तो आपका कोई हाथ पकड़ ही नहीं सकता है. यू आर अनचैलेंज्ड. वो शॉपकीपर 1000 रुपीज से शुरू करता है, आप 100 से शुरू करते हो. बिकॉज यू ऑलरेडी नो, यू हैव सपोर्ट. नो वुड से भैया हमने वहां से लिया है 100 में, आप क्या बता रहे हो 1000 में. बट व्हेन यू आर अलोन देन यू आर वेरी कॉशियस, यू आर वेरी मॉडेस्ट, वेरी हम्बल, राइट. सो ये जो ग्रुप का बिहेवियर है ये हमेशा आपको इन्फ्लुएंस करता है. एंड इस वर्स्ट केस इज सीन इन गैंग रेप्स, मॉब लिंचिंग, कम्युनल राइट्स. जो ऑर्डिनरी लुकिंग पर्सन है, दे टर्न आउट टू बी किलर्स इंस्टेंटली. And they don't mind killing innocent people. They don't even bother whether that person is responsible for anything or not. So ये जो dynamic है crowd का, as an administrator or would-be administrator, you should understand this, because in your part of your job, crowd management is an inseparable part. And in a country like India, where almost every month you have festivals happening across the country, right? Different sort of festival है, celebration है, जिसमें क्राउड हमेशा होती है. There you need an apt understanding of the crowd psychology. And social psychology has introduced 2 topics for you. One is emotional intelligence, where there is an assumption that being a rational person, or besides being a rational person, a man is an emotional being. And those emotions come to affect his sense of right and wrong. जैसे anger में देखो, most of the people would lose the sense of right and wrong. Anger हो, fear हो, तो इनको आपको समझ लेना है. And then you have to devise the strategy to correct the situation. Second topic जो है social psychology में, वो है attitude का. So attitude has also a bigger influence on your behavior. Sometimes people fail in their life or judgment despite having professional capacity because of wrong attitudes. समझ में आ रहा है? तो ये जो इन्फ्लुएंस है, अगर ये आपको समझ में आएगा, then you will be able to solve the cases which are part of your job. So वो भी देखा जाता है. Then third element that you need to study in your syllabus is public administration. So see, as an activity, public administration is as old as civilization. समझ में आ रहा है? Is there anybody who has studied public administration as a part of graduation, post graduation? So as an activity, it starts when 2 or more people come together with some objective. 2 or more people. So like family. So family is a microcosm of administration, right? Where decisions are made, plans are made, then implemented, goals are achieved. But on a larger scale, nation. Okay, nation is larger setup of administration. So ये जो administration है, इसमें आप you'll be spending your most of the life once elected, है ना? So almost 25 to 30 years of your lifespan will be spent in administrative setup. By being a civil servant, right? So आपको इसमें ये मालूम होना चाहिए कि एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन में राइट एंड रॉन्ग कैसे डिसाइड किया जाता है. How do they decide that if this activity is done, then administration is ethical, otherwise not? So how these criteria evolve, were they already there or have they changed due to passage of the time? ये भी आपको पढ़ना है. So इसमें आप थोड़ा सा हिस्ट्री ऑफ इंडियन एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन भी पढ़ो. But mainly what will you study? The values that are relevant to the Indian administration. So for example, compassion towards weaker sections of the society. Or what kind of aptitude would make you a better civil servant? वो भी आपको पढ़ना है. Then how to bring probity in governance. Probity means highest moral principles. वो कैसे लाने हैं? उसके लिए कोई सिस्टम है क्या? उसके लिए कोई लॉज है क्या? उसके लिए कोई इंस्टीट्यूशन है क्या, ये आपको पढ़ना है. एंड व्हाट आर द करंट इनिशिएटिव्स बाय द गवर्नमेंट. नाउ सी, in all these three disciplines, they don't expect you to be a specialist. So उनको ethicist नहीं चाहिए, उनको psychologist नहीं चाहिए, उनको seasoned public administrator भी नहीं चाहिए, because that is impossible at the entry stage, right? But what they demand from you is fair awareness of all these three elements and their application in current affairs. All right, and that's why they have put second session, that is case studies on all the above. आपके syllabus में. So जो भी थियरी दी है, इथिक्स की हो, सोशल साइकोलॉजी की हो, या फिर पबैड की हो, उसमें एक एलिमेंट ऐसा भी डाला है कि इस सब के ऊपर आपको क्या पूछे जाएंगे, केस स्टडीज. इज दैट क्लियर? सो सिलेबस का नेचर आपको क्लियर हो गया. दैट सिलेबस मेनली कॉन्स्टिट्यूट 3 डिसिप्लिन्स एंड ईच डिसिप्लिन हैज इट्स ओन अप्रोच. ठीक है. सो इथिक्स जो है वो आपको थियरी प्रिंसिपल देके प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व करता है. सोशल साइकोलॉजी में राइट एंड रॉन्ग का डिसीजन नहीं होता है. सोशल साइकोलॉजी ओनली एक्सप्लेन्स यू कॉज एंड इफेक्ट रिलेशनशिप, क्या होने की वजह से क्या होता है. सो लाइक साइंस, समझ में आ रहा है. पबैड में जो भी प्रॉब्लम आप सॉल्व करोगे उसको सिस्टमिक सॉल्यूशन देना पड़ेगा. सो देयर इज नो पॉइंट इन राइटिंग दैट आई विल डू दिस और आई विल डू दैट. नो, यू हैव टू राइट इनडायरेक्टली दैट सिस्टम शुड डू दिस, वी शुड हैव दिस सिस्टम, वी शुड हैव दीज रूल्स, इथिकल फ्रेमवर्क्स. सो आपको ये डिसाइड करना है कि कौन से एंगल से आप लिख रहे हो, देन लैंग्वेज का टोन कैसा होना चाहिए. समझ में आ रहा है. एंड दैट्स व्हाई यू नीड टू बी अवेयर ऑफ दीज 3 डिस्टिंक्ट डिविजन्स ऑफ योर सिलेबस. इज दैट क्लियर? ये क्लियर हो गया? एनी डाउट इन दिस? ऑलराइट, देन सिलेबस के बाद में हमें देखना है क्वेश्चन पेपर. सो टेक अ लुक एंड टेल मी व्हाट इज योर फर्स्ट इंप्रेशन. क्या लगता है आपको?
Is more of an information of activities, which will be more of an arbitrary and analytical.
All right. और ऑल राइट, ये भी सच. अब देखो, इफ यू ऑब्जर्व सेक्शन 8, द लेंथ ऑफ आंसर इज लेस, 150 at the most. But if you go to section B, the answer length varies from 250 to 300. So accordingly, number of questions come down in section B, while the number of questions go up in section A. ठीक है. तो अगर थियरी सेक्शन भी बोला है, बट इट इज नॉट प्योरली थियरी सेक्शन. उसमें मेनली 4 कैटेगरीज के सवाल आते हैं. एक देखो कोट बेस है. कोट बेस मीन्स सेइंग्स ऑफ ग्रेट पीपल. सो उसमें कौन कौन हो सकता है? पॉलिटिकल लीडर, थिंकर्स, पोएट्स, रिफॉर्मर्स. ठीक है, वेदर इंडियन और वेस्टर्न. अब उनके जब सेइंग्स है, कोट्स है, तो वो आपको पूछते हैं व्हाट डज दिस कोट मीन टू यू. तो आपका इंटरप्रिटेशन उसमें एक्सपेक्टेड है. How do you interpret this quote? But there it is implied that you have to prove your point by giving example. And sometimes the question asks you to interpret the quote in the present context. So the question would be like this: what is the meaning of below given quotes in the present era or in the current context? So इसमें क्या करना है? Again, you have to divide your 150 words into first part interpretation, second part example relevant to that interpretation. So to prove your point, you have to give example while writing the quote. Clear? And these questions, every year they are asked at least 3 quotes every year. So 3 quotes means 30 marks. So because on an average per question marks hote hain 10. Sometimes they are 15. So now onwards, you have to make a habit of writing your short note for ethics in 150 words. That would prepare you for exam. Second category है example based questions, where they try to check your understanding by looking at your example. The major emphasis is on example. So for example, sometimes questions are asked, how the virtues of trustworthiness and fortitude are manifested in public service. Explain with examples. So ये जो virtues है, virtues means सद्गुण, अच्छी qualities, तो उसके नाम देंगे आपको. But you have to explain these virtues in the context of public service. ये public service में कैसे दिखाई देते हैं? Not in general life. And to prove your point, you have to give example from current affairs. So public service का अगर example देना है तो invariably it will be example of civil servants and not any other professional. आपको समझ में आ रहा है? So again here the major emphasis is on example. Third category है concept, definitions and interlinkage. So if there is a question which is directly related with definition, like what is ethics, what is value, then there you can directly quote the authoritative definitions. Now what are the sources of authoritative definitions? Write down government reports. So definitions कहाँ से आनी चाहिए? Government reports or reports of international institutions like World Bank, World Economic Forum, IMF. Okay, so government reports, then textbooks published by government. Textbooks published by government. ठीक है. Third source है IGNOU material. IGNOU, you know, right? इंदिरा गांधी नेशनल ओपन यूनिवर्सिटी, IGNOU, IGNOU का जो इथिक्स का मटेरियल है, या फिर पबैड का जो मटेरियल है, या फिर सोशल साइकोलॉजी का जो मटेरियल है, उस मटेरियल में जो डेफिनेशन है, दोज आर ऑथर. Fourth, definitions given by thinkers themselves. Okay, so these are 4 different sources of definitions of concepts. अब इसमें और एक चीज याद रखो. You should not emphasize on only one definition. You should compile as many definitions as possible of one concept. Because depending on the context of the question, you need different definitions. You cannot use one definition everywhere. समझ में आ रहा है? Second exercise you have to undertake is to rephrase the definition in your own words. So once you collect the definition, second step is to paraphrase them in your own words. Why? Because sometimes a question is asked, what do you understand by ethics? वहाँ definitions मत लिखो. वहाँ क्या लिखो? Themselves. Okay, so these are 4 different sources of definitions of concepts. अब इसमें और एक चीज याद रखो. You should not emphasize on only one definition. You should compile as many definitions as possible of one concept. Because depending on the context of the question, you need different definitions. You cannot use one definition everywhere. समझ में आ रहा है? Second exercise you have to undertake is to rephrase the definition in your own words. So once you collect the definition, second step is to paraphrase them in your own words. Why? Because sometimes a question is asked, what do you understand by ethics? वहाँ definitions मत लिखो, वहाँ क्या लिखो?